Hey Heartists, welcome back to Art at Heart. For those of you who are new, this is a crafting channel. We do DIYs, thrift flips, and everything that you can think of that's inexpensive and craft-based. So today we're actually going to be making a Halloween themed one, because why not? I freaking love Halloween. Autumn is my favorite season. I'm hoping to not only produce this one, but a couple of other Halloween themed things. And there's a squirrel. Who else doesn't like squirrels? I don't know, squirrels just creep me out. I believe there was an Arthur episode about squirrels that were evil. I think that's true. Though I hate birds more than I hate squirrels. Squirrels are at least fluffy. Anyway, I'm getting very sidetracked, but it's fine. Back to Halloween. So as you can see, I kind of have a Halloween getup. I wanted to put on vampire teeth, but they were not staying on. I just can't seem to get them to work. And I need to figure that out because I'm doing a photo shoot with them soon. Hashtag first world problems. Anyway, we are going to be making some awesome spiderweb leggings. Well, I guess they're not leggings, but using fishnets to make it appear like spider webs. And we're going to be making the spiders out of clay. It's pretty easy, it's a little time consuming, but like the end result's really cool. Yeah, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so first off, you're going to need to get yourself a pair of fishnet leggings. I got these off of Amazon for about $9. Now, I chose to go with a knit that was, how do you say it, I guess more tight and less gappy than some fishnet leggings that you can get. I would recommend that. Okay, you are also going to need some Sculpey or Fimo, aka polymer clay, for this project. We are going to be making the spiders out of clay. Essentially, you're going to need a couple different colors. My color scheme was purple, red, black, and white. Kind of Halloween-y colors. I don't know why I didn't include orange, but I just didn't. So you are going to go ahead and knead that clay so it's nice and workable. And then once you got it to a consistency that you are able to work with, then you're going to roll it into 2 balls. I made mine roughly the size of a quarter and a dime. I made I can't speak. I made a couple different sizes just so I would have some variety on the leggings. You can make them as big or as small as you like. It's just dependent on how much clay you have and kind of how you want it to look. So after you get the body and the head, you want to make sure the back of the spider has a little bit of a point. And you're going to add a dot of clay on the top of the spider to make it look a little more realistic and trace around that with a tool. It could be a toothpick. I even later on in the video, actually I don't know if I video recorded that or not, but you can use a piece of wire. I'm now adding a few little antennas. They do tend to fall off, so if you don't want to add them, you don't have to, but I just decided to go with that to make it look a little bit more realistic. But once again, not a necessity, and it does kind of fall off. Okay, next I added little like pincher things. I guess they're not pinchers because it's on the back end, but little pointy things on the back, I guess the butt. And then once you have that, once again, that's not a necessity, you don't need that. You are going to take your wire, and I'm not exactly sure what size wire I used. I'll try and look it up and see if I can figure it out, and I'll post that in the description. But essentially you're going to take the wire and kind of measure it out how long you want the legs and use wire cutters to cut that off. And once you got it roughly the size you want, you need 8 of those. I did a couple different sizes. Then you're going to take a small bit of clay and just roll that onto the wire. You want to make sure the clay is nice and soft because I low-key was struggling in this video, as you can tell. Because I didn't make the clay soft enough. So definitely make sure you work with that clay really well until you attempt to try and put it onto the wire. And you want to make sure that it covers the bulk of the wire, and just make multiple sizes. You want smaller and bigger sized legs. look, we have more videos of me struggling hardcore to make spider legs. Yep. Okay, let's see if I can eventually do this. You got this, Brianna. I believe in you. Oh, nope, I don't got it, apparently. I don't know how much of this I'm actually gonna green in this video, but, you know, oh, we have more wire. What are we doing with the wire now? Are we still cutting more legs? I guess, yep, I guess we're making more legs. Feel free to fast forward once you kind of got the idea of how to make a leg. I might cut some of this out, to be honest. You don't need to watch this a million bajillion times. Okay, then once you got the clay around the leg, after a very tedious process of video recording, you take it and you take your tool, aka your toothpick, or if you have the clay tool with the pointy head, which I don't know what it's called, you want to make little joints in the legs. I do about 2 to 3 per leg, and I made sure that it goes all the way around just in case your spider flips over or whatnot. And this will also make it easier to move the legs once they are baked, because you don't want to bend them into shape until they are baked. Also, do not try and put on the legs before they are baked, because that's just asking for trouble. So you want to bake the legs separately at 225. Once those are done in the oven and cooled off, then you can stick the wire into the body of the spider, and I'll go into that a little bit later. When you bake your little clay creations, you want to make sure that you are baking it at 225 for about 15 minutes. This includes the legs and then the body of the spider once you have assembled it. Okay, so once you have your legs all baked, they are ready to be bent into shape. And once you got them roughly in the shape that you want, you will cut off all that excess wire. I like to pair up the legs before even inserting them, so I can make sure that I have 2 legs of roughly the same size going in on both sides of the spiders. Now, when I'm cutting off the excess wire, I make sure to leave about a 1/2 centimeter of wire, just because you don't want a whole bunch of excess wire sticking out on the other side of the spider. But you also need enough that you can actually poke it in, because if you try and poke it in with the clay covered wire, it'll be a lot more difficult. And I try and pair up the legs, so I kind of do like a segment that has like 3 legs that are kind of together, and then sometimes I'll do like 2 pairs of legs in the back. But it's kind of up to you how you want to set it up. See how I'm reversing the direction. So the first 4 legs are facing kind of towards the head, and then the other 2 pairs are facing towards the rear of the spider. But that's like up to you how you want to do it. This was just the style I went for this particular spider. Okay, so for this next step, you're going to want to invest in getting some liquid Sculpey. Mine is super old, but you know, it does the job. You can find this at your local craft store, and essentially you want to put the liquid Sculpey on all of the little spots where you inserted the legs. This will help ensure that it stays in place. And guys, you don't want to cheap out on this, because I tried to do, I think, 2 spiders without this, and they literally fell apart after I took them out of the oven. So I with those, I used super glue to glue them all in, and that was just so much more of a hassle. So I would highly, highly recommend to get yourself some liquid Sculpey. And this is what all of my spiders ended up looking like. I originally only made 5, and then once I had put them on the leggings, I realized I needed a lot more. So I would plan on making at least like, I mean, I guess it depends on how many you want. Originally, I was only going to decorate the top of the fishnets, and that just looked kind of dumb. So I ended up making 9 spiders, but it's kind of up to you how many you want to make. And I guess it depends on how big you make them as well. But I felt like that was the amount I needed to make the tights look good. Okay, so now we're going on to decorating the spider. You can either use paint or Sharpie, and I did both. So for the purple spiders, for the most part, I used paint. I started off by just kind of painting around the body of the spider with a light purple. And then I also added some little lines around the joint areas of the spider with the light purple as well. And then I mixed a little color I was attempting to get a darker purple, and it just came out gross. So if you buy like an actual dark purple at the store, you shouldn't have that issue. And then I decided to go with painting the whole head of the spider a light purple. You also want a pretty small paintbrush for this, just so you can get all those details. I will say the nice thing about using paint instead of Sharpie is that if you mess up, you can wipe off the paint, versus the Sharpie is a little bit harder to rub off, and you'll definitely get like some smearing action going on. Whereas with the paint, you can take like a wet cloth, a wet paper towel or something like that, and get it pretty much all off except in the little cracks and crevices. But I guess you should kind of evaluate how much you mess up when decorating or painting. For this purple spider, I did roughly the same thing. Oh, I apologize for my hair. That's so irritating. But I can't really go back and film this. You essentially paint on the purple spider with the light color purple for the joints, and kind of around the liquid Sculpey area. That was the one annoying thing about the liquid Sculpey, is it would kind of leave a residue that didn't look super natural, so I tried to paint over that. And then I did a little white swirl at the base of the butt of the spider. Once again, I apologize for my hair in this shot. I like to get super close up when I'm painting. I don't know if it's because I just have poor vision or what, and I just like forget that I'm recording. Yep, it's a problem. But essentially kind of similar stuff as the last spiders. Paint on those joints, and then I did like a little oval shape with red and white. And then I outlined those lines on the head with some white color and wiped it off so it wasn't as prominent. And then this last spider is the one that I used Sharpie for. The white spiders will definitely work the best depending on what color Sharpies you use. Like you could probably use like the metallic Sharpies on the other color spiders, like silver or gold, but you might have some issues with like regular colored Sharpies on the black and dark purple ones. But essentially I just started out by tracing the head portion in red. Once again, I stuck with the color theme, hence why I'm using the red thin head Sharpie, because my color theme was red, purple, black, with like hints of silver. And just color in all those joints. I really hope you guys can't hear my cat's water fountain in the background because it's really loud and it's pretty quiet besides me doing this recording, so we'll see. Okay, so next you're gonna take your black Sharpie and you're gonna add some kind of like fuzzy fur blackness onto your spider, covering up the liquid Sculpey once again because that stuff is messy. Just covering that up, and I believe that later on I also color in either the ends of the legs or the middle parts of the legs, and it's up to you if you just want to do the beginning section and not the other edges of the legs, but I think it looks kind of silly as is. Okay, so I actually found an image online and I was kind of basing the style of the body of the spider off the image. Mind you, my version was very abstract, but essentially I kind of had this heart-shaped back with other like lines. It was kind of like a marbled-esque looking spider, but I kind of took my own interpretation. So I did like a heart shape thing in the center and then kind of some pointy, bumpy shapes on the side. I don't know how else to describe it. And then I just kind of filled in the gaps with some random shapes. I colored the butt kind of completely black, as you can see. And then I did a little like triangular shape at the bottom. Oh, see guys, I was right. I did color some other sections black, just to make it match a little bit better, so the whole leg wasn't white. And for me, a lot of this was kind of just sporadic and what I thought looked good at the time. So like you can plan it out and maybe sketch out what you want, but I'm very bad at like planning out drawings ahead of time. I'm one of those people that like, I don't know, I remember in high school we would always have to like sketch out what we wanted our like final piece to look like. And my sketch would always be better than my final product. And I was always so annoyed. I'm like, can I just like start on the final piece? Because I know my first drawing is gonna be so much better than like my final piece. So I'd rather first do my final. But, you know, luckily now I'm not in school, so I can do whatever the hell I want. Then I added some black to the head and just some little touch-ups. Okay, so now we're gonna actually attempt to glue onto the fishnets. So first you gotta take it out of the package, of course, which was kind of difficult to be honest, but you know. I would highly recommend to try these on and take a piece of chalk, whether that be fabric chalk or just regular chalk. Make sure it's a light color and mark the areas that you want the spiders to be in. So how I did this was I put it on and then I put on a pair of shorts and I marked where my shorts ended, and then I also kind of marked how low I wanted the spiders to go, whether that be your ankles, your knees, your thigh. It kind of depends on how you want to style it. Okay, so next you are going to need some felt. You are going to take the felt and cut it into a small little oval shape that's roughly the size of the spider. You want it to be almost exactly the same size so you don't see the black felt poking through. I decided to do this because I was reading online that trying to glue clay to fabric is really difficult. And a lot of people, especially cosplayers, recommended to glue a different piece of fabric onto the clay and then glue the fabric to fabric. So I decided to do this just to be safe rather than sorry. And I used E6000 glue for this. And when I first glued the spiders on, I left the cardboard packaging in the fishnets, just because I thought that it would be easier that way. It turns out it's a lot easier if you find a surface you don't really care about and just glue it onto that surface. Well, not onto the surface, but onto the fishnets, and it'll kind of seep through onto the surface. And then every so often you want to kind of pull it off so it doesn't get glued to that desk or whatever you're using. But I found that this was the easiest process. And sometimes the tights will get glued to each other, but they're really easy to just pull apart. Before gluing the spiders onto the fishnets, you want to make sure that the previous gluing of the spiders to the felt is completely dry, and then you can go ahead and glue those spiders onto the fishnets. And make sure you're using a fair amount of glue. You don't want to like use an excessive amount because then it will just be gluey and gloppy. But you also want to make sure that you use enough, because there was a couple of times that I had to re-glue the spiders down. And also with this glue, it needs quite a long time to set. I would give it roughly 5 hours to a day to dry. What I did was I glued it on at night, and then by the morning it was dry. I glued the spiders on in multiple different directions, so some look like they're crawling down my leg, some look like they're crawling up. And of course, this is the finished product. If I had a chance to go back, I'd probably add some spiders on the back as well. Congratulations, you made it to the end of the video. Not a lot of my subscribers do that. I congratulate you. Let's get that watch time up. If you liked this video, please give me a comment, subscribe, a like. Any of those three would be fabulous. Yeah, and if you subscribe, you'll get to see more content like this. Yeah, thanks so much. This is Brianna, signing out.